Hollywood gave you clean heroes and cowardly villains. The real frontier gave you something far more unsettling. Men who were both at the same time. The gunslingers on this list weren't just violent. They were complicated, contradictory, and in most cases, far deadlier than any screenwriter would dare to admit. We pulled these stories from court records, period newspapers, and eyewitness testimony. No legend, no myth, just the raw, documented truth. These are the 10 real gunslingers Hollywood desperately wants hidden. If history with the myth stripped off is your thing, hit subscribe and the notification bell. We drop new episodes every week. Coming in at number 10, Ben Thompson. Born in Nottingham, England in 1843, Thompson immigrated to America as a child and fought for the Confederacy in the Civil War before drifting into gambling and gunfighting on the Texas frontier. His pistol skills were so respected that Bat Masterson, a reliable judge of such things, called him one of the most dangerous men he had ever encountered. What Hollywood won't touch is the contradiction at the center of Thompson's life. In 1880, he was elected city marshal of Austin, Texas, and by most accounts, he was effective. He kept order in a town that badly needed it. Then in 1882, he shot and killed theater owner Jack Harris in San Antonio during a personal dispute, and the political fallout forced him to resign the badge. 2 years later, in March 1884, Thompson was lured back to the same theater by an invitation from the new management. He walked into an ambush and was killed alongside his friend, King Fisher. The circumstances pointed toward a revenge killing orchestrated by associates of the man Thompson had shot. He died the way the frontier often repaid its most dangerous men. Not in a fair fight, but from a dark corner. A lawman, a killer, and a walking contradiction the history never quite knew how to file. At number 9, Kingfisher. John Kingfisher was born in 1853 in Collin County, Texas. He lost his mother early and grew up without much anchoring him to the straight and narrow. By 16, he had a conviction for horse theft. By his early 20s, he controlled a lawless stretch of southwest Texas, known as the Nueces Strip, with an estimated 100 outlaws riding under him. Fisher's confirmed kill count stands at roughly 11, including 3 members of his own gang who had turned against him and 7 armed men in separate confrontations. He was also famous for the sheer spectacle of how he presented himself. Elaborately embroidered outfits, silver-trimmed saddles, the kind of man who wanted you to see him coming. What makes Fisher genuinely strange is what came next. He cooperated with authorities and was appointed deputy sheriff of Uvalde County. He was reportedly good at the job, but his past caught up with him anyway. On March 11, 1884, he accompanied Ben Thompson to the Turner Vaudeville Theater in San Antonio, walked into an ambush intended for Thompson, and was killed alongside him. He was 30 years old. He reformed, pinned on a badge, and died for it anyway. The frontier didn't give refunds. Number 8, Dallas Stoudenmeier, born in Aberfoyle, Alabama in 1845. Stoudenmeier served in the Confederate Army and was wounded multiple times before landing in El Paso, Texas in April 1881, where he was appointed town marshal almost immediately. 3 days into the job, on April 14, 1881, a street confrontation exploded into what became known as the 4 dead in 5 seconds gunfight. Stoudenmeier killed 2 men directly, accidentally shot an innocent bystander in the chaos, and a 4th man was killed by another participant. The whole thing lasted roughly 5 seconds. Over his tenure as marshal, he killed at least 9 people and brought a violent, effective order to one of the most lawless cities in the Southwest. His undoing was a bitter feud with the Manning brothers, a politically connected El Paso family. On September 18, 1882, the feud ended in Doc Manning's saloon. Stoudenmeier was shot multiple times, managed to wound James Manning, and died on the floor. He was 36. Stoudenmeier didn't police El Paso so much as he outgunned it, and the city is still catching its breath. At number 7, Wyatt Earp. Born on March 19, 1848, in Monmouth, Illinois, Earp served as a lawman in Wichita and Dodge City before arriving in Tombstone, Arizona in 1879 with his brothers. His documented kill count ranges between 8 and roughly a dozen. The gunfight at the OK Corral on October 26, 1881 lasted approximately 30 seconds. Wyatt, his brothers, and Doc Holliday killed 3 members of the Cowboys faction, Billy Clanton and the McClory brothers. In the retaliatory attacks that followed, Virgil Earp was crippled and Morgan was murdered. What followed was the Earp Vendetta Ride. Wyatt, operating under a federal marshal's warrant, killing at minimum 2 cowboys suspected in his brother's attacks and driving others out of the territory. The part Hollywood consistently softens. Earp was also a gambler, a brothel investor, and a man who spent his final years in Los Angeles aggressively pitching his own story to the emerging film industry. He died on January 13, 1929, at age 80. He wasn't wrong to be proud of his record. He was also carefully curating the version you'd remember. Both of those things are true. We're halfway through, and it only gets darker from here. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. New history every week. No mythology. Number 6, Billy the Kid, Henry McCarty, known as William H. Bonney, known as Billy the Kid, was born around 1859, most likely in New York City. His mother died of tuberculosis when he was 15, and within 2 years, he had killed his first man, a ranch hand named Frank Cahill in Arizona's Gila River area, in August 1877. He fled to New Mexico and was pulled into the Lincoln County War of 1878, a violent economic conflict over government beef contracts and merchant monopolies. He rode with the Regulators, a group pursuing justice for the murder of their employer John Tunstall. His confirmed kills sit between 4 and 9 from the historical record. The legend insists on 21, 1 for each year of his life. There is no documentation for that number. He was captured by Sheriff Pat Garrett in December 1880, convicted of murdering Lincoln County Sheriff William Brady and sentenced to hang. In April 1881, he escaped from the courthouse by killing both his guards. Garrett tracked him to Pete Maxwell's ranch in Fort Sumner and shot him dead in a darkened bedroom on the night of July 14, 1881. He was around 21 years old. He wasn't a rebel without a cause. The cause was poverty, and the war was someone else's. He just got left holding the gun. At number 5, Wild Bill Hickok. James Butler Hickok was born on May 27, 1837, in Homer, Illinois, to a family that ran a station on the Underground Railroad. He left home at 18, worked as a stagecoach driver and Army Scout, and became one of the most legitimately dangerous men on the plains before any magazine had printed a word about him. His confirmed kills number between 6 and 7, notably less mythological than the reputation. His most historically significant moment came on July 21, 1865, in Springfield, Missouri, when he faced Davis Tutt in what many historians consider the first recorded quick-draw duel in American history. The dispute was over a watch Tutt had taken as a debt payment and then provocatively worn in public. They squared off at 75 yards. Hickok fired once. Tutt missed. That single shot became the founding image of the Hollywood Western. He was killed from behind on August 2, 1876, while playing poker at Nuttall and Mann Saloon in Deadwood, Dakota Territory. The assassin was a drifter named Jack McCall. The hand Hickok held, 2 pair aces and 8s, has been called the dead man's hand ever since. 6 confirmed kills. The defining image of the American West. The math doesn't matter when the legend lands that hard. Number 4, Clay Allison. Robert Clay Allison was born in 1841 in Wayne County, Tennessee, to a minister's family, which did not stop him from becoming one of the most genuinely unsettling figures in frontier history. He served in the Confederate Army, but was discharged in 1862 after a medical evaluation described him as suffering from a partly epileptic and partly maniacal condition following a head injury. He moved west, became a cattle rancher, and seemed to attract violence the way storms attract lightning. His most notorious incident, after a suspected murderer named Cruz Vega was lynched by a mob Allison helped lead in Colfax County, New Mexico in 1875. Allison decapitated the body and paraded the head through town on a pole. In January 1874, he sat down to dinner with a known gunfighter named Chunk Colbert, a man who had already killed 7 men. When Colbert reached for his gun under the table, Allison shot him dead and reportedly explained afterward that he never liked to shoot a man before he had eaten. Allison died not in a gunfight, but on July 3, 1887, near Pecos, Texas, when he fell from a supply wagon and a wheel crushed his skull. His gravestone reads, "He never killed a man that did not need killing." He wrote that epitaph for himself. The scariest man on this list never got a proper Hollywood villain arc, probably because no screenwriter could make him make sense. At number 3, Jim Miller. James Brown Miller was born in 1861 in Van Buren, Arkansas. His grandparents, with whom he lived as a child, were found murdered, and rumors pointed to young Jim, though nothing was ever proven. Miller grew up to become the most methodical killer in this entire countdown. He never drank, never smoked, attended church every Sunday, wore a long black frock coat everywhere he went, and underneath it, a steel breastplate to stop bullets, a precaution that saved his life when a gunfighter named Bud Fraser shot him 6 times at close range and watched him stay on his feet. Miller's confirmed kills total 14, but historians believe the actual number could reach 50 because he operated as a hired assassin from the 1880s onward, charging between $150 and $2,000 per killing, depending on the target. In 1909, he was contracted to kill U.S. Deputy Marshal Gus Bobbitt in Ada, Oklahoma, for $2,000. He was arrested shortly after. On April 19, 1909, a mob broke into the jail, dragged Miller and 3 others to a livery stable, and hanged them all. According to witnesses, Miller climbed onto the box himself, adjusted the noose, and said, "Let her rip." He went to church every week and charged $2,000 a body. The frontier produced a lot of contradictions. Miller was the most efficient one. And at number 1, the most prolific killer the Old West ever produced, John Wesley Hardin. Born on May 26, 1853, in Bonham, Texas, to a Methodist minister. He killed his first man at 15. An argument with a freedman named Mage over a wrestling match escalated into a shooting, then into Hardin killing 3 Union soldiers who came after him. He was 15 years old and already a fugitive. He carried dual pistols and cross-draw holsters and spent the next decade leaving a documented trail of bodies across Texas. His verified kill count, based on court records and testimony, sits between 20 and 30. His total estimated kills reach 42. In 1871 in Abilene, he famously shot through a hotel wall to silence a man snoring in the next room, killing him instantly, then slipped out before Wild Bill Hickok could arrest him. He fought on the Taylor side during the Sutton-Taylor feud, a bloody range war in South Texas, and killed a deputy sheriff named Charles Webb on his own 21st birthday in 1874, the crime for which he was ultimately convicted. Texas Rangers captured him on a train in Florida in 1877. He served 16 years in Huntsville Prison, studied law, passed the bar exam, and received a pardon in 1894. He practiced law briefly in Gonzales, Texas. On August 19, 1895, Constable John Selman walked up behind Hardin in the Acme Saloon in El Paso and shot him in the back of the head. Hardin was 42 years old. A significant number of his confirmed victims were Black and Mexican men. His autobiography, written in prison, cast him as perpetually provoked and always justified. The court records tell a different story. 42 estimated kills, a law degree, and a bullet in the back of the head in a saloon. The most violent life the Old West produced ended exactly the way the Old West ended most things. Without ceremony, without justice, in the dark. And at number 1, the most prolific killer the Old West ever produced, John Wesley Hardin. Born on May 26, 1853, in Bonham, Texas, to a Methodist minister. He killed his first man at 15. An argument with a freedman named Mage over a wrestling match escalated into a shooting, then into Hardin killing 3 Union soldiers who came after him. He was 15 years old and already a fugitive. He carried dual pistols and cross-draw holsters and spent the next decade leaving a documented trail of bodies across Texas. His verified kill count, based on court records and testimony, sits between 20 and 30. His total estimated kills reach 42. In 1871 in Abilene, he famously shot through a hotel wall to silence a man snoring in the next room, killing him instantly, then slipped out before Wild Bill Hickok could arrest him. He fought on the Taylor side during the Sutton-Taylor feud, a bloody range war in South Texas, and killed a deputy sheriff named Charles Webb on his own 21st birthday in 1874, the crime for which he was ultimately convicted. Texas Rangers captured him on a train in Florida in 1877. He served 16 years in Huntsville prison, studied law, passed the bar exam, and received a pardon in 1894. He practiced law briefly in Gonzales, Texas. On August 19, 1895, Constable John Selman walked up behind Hardin in the Acme Saloon in El Paso and shot him in the back of the head. Hardin was 42 years old. A significant number of his confirmed victims were Black and Mexican men. His autobiography, written in prison, cast him as perpetually provoked and always justified. The court records tell a different story. 42 estimated kills, a law degree, and a bullet in the back of the head in a saloon. The most violent life the Old West produced ended exactly the way the Old West ended most things. Without ceremony, without justice, in the dark. These 10 men didn't become legends because they were good or evil. They became legends because the frontier was a place where violence and law, order and chaos occupied the same body, sometimes in the same year. Hollywood simplified them because complexity doesn't fit on a poster. The real stories, pulled from records and stripped of myth, show a West that was messier, darker, and more human than any movie has been willing to show you. If this changed how you see the Old West, drop a comment below with which story hit different. Like and subscribe if you want history told without the whitewash. And we'll see you in the next one.